On the agenda tonight, we're going to be taking a look at Andrea McArdle, and she's going to be performing tomorrow, back in 1981 and 2016. Hello, Phil here from Wings of Pegasus, and welcome to another analysis video. If you enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. So, this is one of those requests that was really specific, and we do get them now and again, but certainly not regularly. So we're going to be taking a look at Andrea's voice, separated by, 35 years, and seeing how they compare, how her voice has changed, but also just enjoying the performance because, of course, everybody knows this. I think it's probably more well known over in the USA than it is here in the UK, but even still, it's so huge. And Annie was so huge that everybody knows it here in the UK as well. So, I mean, Andrea's voice is known worldwide. So we'll jump into it. On the left-hand side, we're going to have the performance, and you can tell. Left-hand side is from 2016. Right-hand side is 1981. And I am going to be jumping into this a lot because it is an analysis. So if you want to watch it the whole way through without me interrupting it, either of the performances, then there are links in the description below. So let's get into it, and we're going to start with the performance from 1981. Let's have a listen.
In 1977, Andrea McArdle was 13. Today she's a young lady, but still looking to the future.
The sun'll come out tomorrow. Bet your bottom dollar that tomorrow there'll be sun. Just thinking about tomorrow clears away the cobwebs and the sorrow till there's none. When I'm stuck with a day that's gray and lonely, I just stick out my chin and grin and say, tomorrow, so you gotta hang on to tomorrow. Come what may, tomorrow, I love you tomorrow. You're always a day away. Tomorrow, I love you tomorrow. You're always a day
Of course, I said I was going to jump into this quite a lot, but when you start listening to it, it's impossible to interrupt. Anyway, the first thing to mention is you can tell the volume that Andrea is singing with here is typical of musical theatre, Broadway, and like the West End here in London, where you've got singers who are just putting everything into a performance. And just to put a spotlight on that you can tell that this is probably, I couldn't see any microphone anywhere, so it might have been even like a boom mic somewhere picking up her voice. But the resonance that she's got and that power and the control, and you can see on the pitch monitoring software the accuracy of the notes with which, as we always say, with great singers, they will occasionally kind of hit these lines, and Andrea's hitting these lines, periodically. But the great thing about great singers is that they're singing the best frequency for the instrumentation and the environment that they are in. For example, here, the C#5 being almost between notes, but at no point throughout this whole performance do you think that she's singing out of tune. She's hitting the best frequency. This is, just really impressive from that standpoint. Yeah, the power, the control, the pitch accuracy, vibrato as well. When we're looking at how even her vibrato is, and the fact that, we get this nice flow to it as well. She just drifts up there to the F4. But just holding these notes, and this was great, this C5. because you can see how accurate this is. And if we were to zoom in, it would be slightly above the line, but this is the point. It's a natural voice, and then relaxing into that vibrato, which is actually quite tight on that C5. And then as we come back, we get this more kind of relaxed vibrato with the lower range, you know, that F4 again. Just have a listen to this. We get this really nice even vibrato. So anyway, I just want to bring up this point of singing on stage and being in a production, because a lot of people won't necessarily appreciate the difference and what it takes to do this kind of thing. Because Andrea, you know, just being on Broadway, you have to do shows. I mean, sometimes they have a couple of showings a day, you know, which is crazy to think that you're putting your voice through a performance at lunchtime effectively, and then in the evening, and you're doing that for a run. And sometimes, you know, it can go on for months. Well, it will be going on for months if you're on Broadway or the West End. So it means that the demands that are put on you vocally are huge. And it's not only that, it's singing songs that you haven't written yourself, meaning that whatever the note is, however it's been written, you've got to hit those notes. So you've got to have your voice in shape every single day to be able to hit these notes that, you know, if you're writing the songs yourself, you might think, oh, well, that's a little bit of a strain there, so I might bring that down, change the melody in that place. But you can't do that. But this is the thing and the point about performing night after night after night after night in songs that are vocally demanding like this one, and just belting it out. And the other thing, again, there are so many kind of, you know, sub points to this and things that you have to take into consideration, that when you're listening to somebody sing in this way, they're singing as a character. So they're changing the sound of their voice to put across the emotion of the scene, or whatever they're getting their character to elicit emotionally, for then the audience to understand where that character's coming from. So with doing this, it means that Andrea is changing the way that her voice sounds in order to hit notes in a particular way, whether that be, you know, softly, dynamically leaning into it, more chest voice, belting, you know, hitting really high notes with vibrato, having the crescendo, all of these things that are essential to the show, and hitting that note in that way so that you get the crescendo and everything, you know, it's just pushed to that level. As you can hear with the audience here, you know, it is just a standalone vocal performance that hits the right emotional chord. And that's not only what's so difficult to do as a vocalist, but as an actor, but then rolling that all into one, just musically being able to do that and do it regularly night after night. I mean, it's just a totally different level of singing ability. This isn't just performing in the studio. I'm going to listen to this again, but there's a particular vowel that Andrea hits where she comes down to it and she's pretty much almost always bang on the note. I mean, her interval in terms of being so accurate. I just want to listen again.
I'm out tomorrow. Bet your bottom dollar that tomorrow.
Let me just throw in enunciation as well. Getting all of these words out. Listen to the clarity.
There'll be sun. Just thinking about tomorrow clears away the cobwebs and the sorrow till there's none. When I'm stuck with a day that's gray and lonely, I just stick out my chin and grin and say,
Listen to the change of vowel there. Oh, this video could go on for years, but just the control, the resonance, the power. All of that happens within that note. I mean, it's great, but it's essential to the sound, and you can hear how people react to not only the control, the vibrato, the pitch accuracy, but having that freedom, just changing that vowel. I mean, people pick up on every tiny detail of a voice, and this kind of voice has so much detail within it. That's it. There. On this C5, she kind of released... I mean, this is C5, so... I mean, obviously, I'm not going to be singing this as a guy, but even, yeah, for a female vocal, just hitting it like this just sounds great. But when she almost... Even though she's descending, you can hear the release into the vowel. Yeah, that is so pure, and you can see that it's absolutely bang on the C5. And I know that we've almost just listened to the whole song all over again from 1981, but now let's jump into the 2016 performance.
The sun'll come out tomorrow. Bet your bottom dollar that tomorrow there'll be sun. I'm just thinking about tomorrow. Clears away the cobwebs and the sorrow till there's none. When I'm stuck with a day that's gray and lonely, I just stick out my chin and grin and say, oh, the sun will come out tomorrow, so you gotta hang on till tomorrow. Stuck with a day that's gray and lonely, I just stick out my chin and grin and say, oh, the sun will come out tomorrow, so you gotta hang on till tomorrow. Come what may, tomorrow, I love ya tomorrow. You're only
And there we have it. What I love about looking at voices in this kind of detail is, yeah, even though we're 35 years later here, the traits of the voice remain. And I've said that in other videos when we've looked at a singer who will be performing something, maybe 20, 30 years later. The traits don't change. I mean, this kind of thing, this G4, I think this is exactly the same release. Have a listen.
You're only a day.
Only a day. You know, she's so bang on with that G4. I mean, there are so many parts within this, and I am going to... I mean, looking back here, you know, again, the C5, I've only just mentioned from 1981, that C5 that she was hitting so bang on. And as we come back, we've still got, you know, she's still up and around this C5, and 35 years later. So, I mean, I'm going to take this all the way back to the beginning. We're going to bring on the other performance just so we can look at it, even though we're listening to the audio from the left-hand side, just to see the comparison between the vocal lines 35 years later.
The sun'll come out tomorrow.
And I think we're a tone lower in 2016, and that's totally normal. That's what's going to happen generally with age. The key is going to be dropped, and this is only a tone, so 2 semitones. What I love looking at as well is when we get these kinds of things, you can see here, great example, F4, slightly sharp. Over here, we're a tone higher, G4, but look at where it's placed. And these are 35 years apart, but we're talking about the same voice. So the way that Andrea's voice works, and this is just a subconscious thing, she's not singing, you know, 6 to 8 cents sharp of A440 standard pitch intentionally, but she's done this 35 years apart. She's just been ever so slightly sharp of that note. Now, what do we attribute that to? It's the performance that she's authentically performing the same vocal this far apart and hitting the notes in exactly the same way that she ever has, because that's how her voice works. So again, I don't want to bring pitch correction into this conversation, because this is just a natural voice. It's a great natural voice in both of these performances, but this is the kind of thing that for me is a part of the voice that is Andrea's personality that she's putting into the performance. Therefore, it is consistent every time she does it. I think this is the exact same phrase, just to see if that was the same phrase. Obviously, these are going to be a tone apart, so it's going to clash. It's exactly the same phrase. So you might notice as well that Andrea's vibrato is a little bit wider in 2016 than it was in 1981. But again, that's just a natural vibrato, and that's how Andrea's vibrato has matured throughout her years. This is something that you've got to take into consideration, that Andrea's voice in 2016, she's been singing since the age of, 13? I think it was, in Annie. But if you think about all of the time she's performed on stage, that she's had a voice that has just been used night after night after night after night. And we're not just talking for, weeks, months. We're talking about years, and a lot of years. So yeah, maintaining this vocal quality is amazing. I just want to get to, again, that G4, absolutely bang on. I want to get to this last note, because you can see here we've got this held note, really accurate, and then kind of halfway through she relaxes into this vibrato. Let's just have a listen to this. Oh, and no, she's actually kind of doing a little bit of a tail off there, so a little kind of stylization. But this vibrato, it did kind of break up a little bit here, so we don't get to see it clearly on the pitch monitoring software. But if I go back to her vibrato from, I was saying that her vibrato was wider in 2016, but on this last note, it is pretty consistent with how she was hitting this note, this note at the end of the performance. And this is another thing about Andrea, just as an actor and doing such a great job with that character, that you can do such a great job that people just remember that character and remember you as that character, which I know that especially for actors and artists, and especially singers, being almost typecast into just one character can be something that's very difficult, and especially if you're looking to get other roles and things like that. Sometimes even the people who are in charge of casting for different shows can't get their head around that this person should be cast in everything you're doing, because you remember that character so authentically because that was their ability. That's how they did the job so well. So yeah, it's obviously something that works possibly to the disadvantage of the person that was so good, because they're seen as that character, but they were playing that character and they did it so well, you think they're that character, but they're not. That's them being really good at it. But Andrea, yeah, just a top level performer, singer, actor, in order to do it to this level, to sell you the character through song. And that's the art form. It's not just somebody going up there and singing a song, it's somebody going up there and performing a song as a character. So yeah, and when you're talking about this kind of voice as well, it's just a voice on a totally different level that you think, well, somebody else trying to sing this song, they've got to try and do it as authentically as this, which is going to be, nigh on impossible, because Andrea set that bar so high, and it's great to jump into it and analyze. So thank you guys for this very specific request to take a look at these two performances. As always, keep those requests and suggestions coming in the comment section below. Let me know what you guys think, and if you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys at the next one. Rock!